Hello and welcome to another episode of the Knock On Podcast, brought to you by the good people of Zero Tackle. And Dan, we're entering the final the final week of rugby league. And the news just won't stop. It's not stopping. There are coaches, players, referees in the media. What's happening?
Mate, we're going to try and keep it fun tonight. We're not going to get into the serious stuff. We'll leave that for the big boys. So check them out. I mean, the Zero Tackle boys, of course. Mate, if I said to you in the preseason that the Broncos have a drinking problem, I didn't know we'd be sitting here talking about toilet water. But let's park that for 1 second. Shibasaki started the season on, I believe, a training trial, played Origin, is now set to play finals football for the Broncos, but he won't be playing this weekend after he's been stood down for 1 week for supposedly going out a bit, having a few too many drinks and turned up to training less than 100%, has been dropped this weekend to the reserves and will be cut by all reports. I think this is a long time coming and exactly what they need, a wake-up call, because there's too many incidents north of the border.
I think when you have a player that goes on TikTok Live and drinks toilet water for recovery, there are issues at that club. Someone just needs to take Reece Walsh's phone and throw it in the river. But he'd probably go and drink his way out of it.
Yeah, well.
But with Shibasaki, I think they're making an example of a player who has probably set the standard for them all year in terms of paid pittance, top performer.
Mm-hmm.
My question would be, on the eve of the finals, up against the Melbourne Storm, if Payne Haas was out with him, would Payne Haas be stood down for this game? And that's the way that you have to judge the punishment for something like this. Like, I know they want to deter the players to do it, and I don't think Gurmat Shibasaki was out drinking by himself. So the question that I have is, were the other players just able to hide it? But two, if him and Payne Haas rolled up 5 minutes late, smelled like a brewery, would they sit them both down for this game against Melbourne where they can solidify a top 4 spot there?
I don't know. Now, I don't know. I don't have any inside info. I'm only going by what's been reported. They could have swept this under the carpet. No one would have ever known anything about it. It's a training thing. He turns up, whatever. No police involved. There's no even allegation of wrongdoing. No one's even come out and said he was too loud or he undertipped. He was just out having a drink, turned up the next day, was a bit under par. I think this is a step forward for the Brisbane culture. I think Maguire's gone, there's about 5 or 6 of these more serious ones in the preseason. We won't touch on that because that's not fun. And then you see Reece Walsh do what he did. Now, this happened beforehand, but I dare say if this had happened tonight, they just would have sat everyone down and said, boys, we're about to go on a run here. We're probably going to finish in the top 4. We could finish in the top 4. At worst, we're going to finish in the 8. We're going to host a final. We got real championship aspirations here. What are you idiots doing? Get off TikTok, number one, because this isn't Reece Walsh's first. There was the TikTok of him punching his mate. Now, look, we've all done dumb shit. Like, let's be honest. I've never punched or been punched by a mate, mainly because I'd go out cold if it was you. You got a significant reach advantage. And if I didn't get one and you didn't go down, I'd have to run before you got me back. So I haven't done that. But boys will be boys. He didn't technically hurt anyone other than the willing participant. But at what stage does Kia or whoever this year's major sponsors go, keep us out of the goddamn headlines? We got a final series and you're out drinking and you're drinking toilet water. They should be focused on winning a premiership because I'll tell you what, it's there to be won.
Yeah. So at training tomorrow morning, Michael Maguire should have a big metal box and he should be saying everyone's mobile phone is going into that because you can't be trusted. We're going into the finals. I don't want to see anyone drinking toilet water. Your credit cards are on your phones. So I don't want anyone going out on the booze, and we're going to put you on a $50 a week allowance. Come to my house for food. Like, that's literally, you have to baby these guys. You had they're grown men. Like the state of my toilet, I'm not going to drink out of that.
No.
What are they thinking?
Now, he did say that it was a brand new one at a new house, which makes it heaps different, evidently. It's just dumb. Like, don't get me wrong, we're joking about it here. It's very much in jest. Not so much Shibasaki, but again, he just had a big night. We've all turned up to work under, the pump and got out, you don't do that again. This is his version of that. So it's not very serious. And Reece Walsh didn't hurt anyone. I just think it's dumb. And if this had happened in round 3, you fool. Reece Walsh is the difference between them winning a premiership and then bombing out in round 1 of the finals if they don't make the top 4, or round 2 if they do. Just, come on, stop, please, stop. Mate, speaking of stop, I'm sick of this. We almost didn't bring it up because we're so sick of saying the exact same things. Another week, another Kalyn Ponga is leaving the Knights. Rumour. Now, there's a few I've condensed. There's rumours that his parents are quitting whatever roles they have in Newcastle. I don't know. I didn't check. I don't care. You can't draw any parallel there for me. There's some club supposedly talking to him, even though he's on contract and can't be spoken to, blah, blah, blah. We've heard him linked with rugby. He's come out and said, yeah, I'm not doing this, and then he does something. I just think Newcastle need to go in and sit down and say, Kalyn, this ends now. Here's a 3-year deal on top of what you got on $1 million. You are the face of the club, or go, because I am so sick of this. And I had Newcastle fans when I tweeted this earlier saying, it's time to get rid of him. We've had enough.
Yeah, I'm like, for the first time looking at Newcastle, I'm team get rid of Ponga. Whatever Sydney club it is that's apparently linked with him, I'd be finding out who it was and ringing you up and finding out what kind of deal you can cut, because you've got Fletcher Sharp, who was their player of the year this year, undoubtedly. And even still, after going and getting his body obliterated over in Perth, no one has been better. So you got him as your long-term fullback because you got Dylan Brown and Sandon Smith that you can throw in your halves. You've got Best and Gagai, and you got Dominic Young. There's still a player there in Dominic Young. And if Greg Marjorie can't sort himself out, you've got you got Fletcher Hunt. So they're all right in the back line. They probably don't need Kalyn Ponga. They could take Kalyn Ponga's money and, say it was, I don't know, who can we use? Say it was the Dragons.
Yep, makes sense.
Right? Say it's the Dragons. You can turn around to the Dragons and say, give us Ponga, and we'll give you Ponga. We'll take this player, and then you've got the difference. And then, you might have about 800 grand. You go and you find another Trey Mooney.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden your squad looks better.
Yeah, I agree. I know why they're stuck by Ponga. He's been the face of that club for so long, and he's the reason they played finals in the years that they did. But the fact is, he's hardly ever available, and check that. That's a factual statement. The year they made finals, they won 8 in a row, and he played 8 of them. Before that, he missed time and time. This year, he was written off early. Look, I want this guy to stay fit because the competition's better. You're Ponga's biggest fan. You love the bloke, and I'm a huge fan too. But this guy and his management or his dad, I don't know. I don't care. They've got to make a decision. If their future isn't in Newcastle, move away. Because as you said, this team's gone nowhere for the past couple of years. It's been a one-man team. Okay, Dylan Lucas has been fantastic. There's been some really good efforts. And as you mentioned, Fletcher Sharp coming through as a superstar. He should have got the Dylan Brown deal just quietly. But anyways, they got both. Ponga, it's just got to decide, do I want to do this? Or am I going to go to, I don't know, the Dragons? Or I couldn't think of many clubs because Parramatta came to mind, but Yongi's too good now. I wouldn't be making that change. There's a few that, look, Ponga's an upgrade in most clubs. Let's be honest. But Newcastle have tied themselves to something that doesn't work for so long, and they're going to tie themselves longer to something that doesn't work. This is Luke Brooks at the Tigers all over again. Just split.
Think of the Manly clubs that it could be. Like, there's a fullback spot at Manly if they want to persist. If they are saying, Lehigh Hopewadi is a sensational talent, but he's a better winger, and Tom Turbo is broken, he's going to play in the centres. There's a spot there for Ponga at fullback, and that just becomes terrifying. The Bulldogs have always got money. Penrith don't need him. Wests don't need him. Souths, maybe.
Yeah.
The Dragons, maybe. Cronulla, but we probably don't have any money. If it's not the Roosters, I don't know who it is, but like literally if I'm Newcastle, the players that I've just listed off, there's your 1 to 7. You've got a little bit of depth in there. I'd be saying to Ponga, no, like we're not standing in your way. This is your, go and tell us what club it is, negotiate the deal. We'll figure out what player we want. We'll swap. We'll go and find someone else.
I agree. Dragons got plenty of young forwards there for the swap, or potential swap, I should say. But let's talk something that comes up every year at this time of year, and it's no coincidence the NFL is kicking off in the United States of America in a couple days' time. Every time comes finals time, we hear Wildcard weekend. Wildcard weekend, where those that don't follow the NFL, you get your division leaders, which is another thing I hear brought up, along with the draft, because we must be like American sports, even though we're nothing like them demographically. They all play, the top 2 get buys, and there's a wild card where all the teams that, finish 7th and 8th and etc., and they move over and they go this and seeding and blah, blah, blah. The idea behind this is last week we saw Penrith rest a lot of players. They want every game to count because seedings have got to count. They keep trying to find these fixes for something we've seen once. When have we ever sat here discussing 16 players being dropped? Never. I want to put it to you, Terry, that 1, the wildcard idea is stupid. Let's scrap it. And 2, any loophole that is there, coaches are going to find they're going to drop players back weeks ago. So we're not sitting here thinking of fixes, or they're going to say, you know what, the difference between 6, 7, or 8 doesn't matter to us. We're gonna not play them anyways. Waste of time.
Let's stick like American sports are chaos because they've got 50 states. They're huge. There's billions of people over there or hundreds of millions of people over there, whatever it is. But let's just leave it alone. Like if there's one thing about rugby league that they've actually got right was moving away from the McIntyre system.
Mm-hmm.
Don't add anything else to it. We don't need wildcard weekends. We don't need play-in tournaments. We don't need playoffs between teams. We've got a ladder for a reason. Let's just let that ladder run its course. I have seen the suggestion of a bye in between, like the AFL do, and have a bye in between the last round and the first round of the finals. But the situation like that is for a team like, say, let's use Canberra. Minor premiers, no one picked it. No one picked Canberra minor premiers, right? So just imagine they had the bye this round. Then there'd be another week off. Then they'd get week 1 of the finals. They're probably going to win that. Then they have another week off. So that's 1 game in 4 weeks on a hypothetical, but it can happen to anyone.
Yeah.
And then they're playing a prelim final, which would be their 2nd game in 5 weeks. So whilst that checks out, like you could do a bye, but I don't think you can do a bye in the final week of, like, I don't think you can do a bye between the final week and the finals until we have an even amount of teams.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Everything you throw up there says sweet for everyone except one team's going to be unfair.
Yeah.
The draw the way it is always going to be unfair because there's 1, not an even amount of teams. 2, Origin kills teams. 3, the Warriors have to travel a lot further than anyone else. The Cowboys, they go close. Time zones, Broncos get lots of Friday nights. There's not even an amount of rounds where you can play every team twice. It's always going to be unfair. There can't be fixed for everything. I don't know why people keep going on these shows, and people say, yeah, you guys do it all the time. Yeah, we do, but whatever. Coming up with these, if this, and this happens, we can do this, and this, and that'll be cool on the one time it ever happens. I think it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. I just think we have to get rid of this fairness idea, and the best team usually wins, because I would argue, Terry, and feel free to come at me, Penrith were the best team of the last 4 years, and the last 4 premierships have been won by Penrith. I think the best team should win the premiership.
So are we saying Canberra's going to win the premiership this year?
Well, if it's fair, then yes. Yeah. Now let's go to something we enjoy talking about. That's little brother and little sister, our great mates, the Red V, the Dragons. Reports have come out that players are unhappy. Now, let me stress by saying that Brent Reed went on NRL 360 or whatever it's called and said something along the lines of, I haven't heard from anybody, but there's rumblings that players are unhappy, which says to me, he's probably heard it from someone who knows someone who serves coffee to a guy who's related somewhere else. Who knows? I'm not questioning his sources. I'm just saying that he didn't come out and say there's 110% players that are unhappy with the way the Dragons are going. So I put it to you that if any Dragons player is happy with how this season has gone, they need to exit the game immediately because it's not been good enough from the Dragons.
Well, I mean, Shane Flanagan was pretty smug during the week, and I think this is what it's come out, because he sat there after a couple of rounds saying, oh, everyone predicted that we'd come last and we're not going to come last. But they're 15th. So whilst technically correct, Flano, you're not going to win the wooden spoon, you're not going to be in finals contention either. And after you beat Cronulla, there was a mathematical chance that you could make the finals, and then you absolutely dumped in the bed. And now you're in a bottom four finish and could finish 16th. Could finish 16th. So it hasn't been a great season for St. George, and I'm not going to cry any tears over that. But some of that blame, that blame can't just fall on Shane Flanagan. That blame has to fall on the players. And I would dare say 50% of the players who are apparently unhappy would be the players who didn't get the opportunities that they thought they deserved, like a Lachlan Ilias or, a Fagai who probably deserved more games than Tyrell Sloan when Sloan was really out of form. I'd say that the other 50% of the players are the players who just really didn't put in and then turn and go, oh, what a terrible season. I hate this club.
Yeah, I agree. I just, if you put all the Dragons in the room right now and we said, what do you think of the season? If any of them said, yeah, we're happy with how it goes, then they're either lying or they're not interested, because the season's been terrible. Let's be honest. They're sitting 15th, and the fact that they're celebrating not coming last, and I know it was a throwaway line a little while ago, but they haven't come out and said, well, I know we didn't finish last, but 15th might as well be last, because it might as well be last. If you're not playing football, finals football, no one cares. Now, I would argue the Tigers come out and say, yeah, but we've improved, and they have. The Dragons 15th, that's terrible, but look, there's a lot of players there that probably don't deserve to play as much football as they do. They just don't have the depth. They've had some real good young talent come through, especially in the forwards. They got Buchanan, the young centre, that played extremely well against Cronulla. They've got, look, I think the biggest mistake was not starting Jacob Little in as many games as possible. I think he has been arguably their best for 2 seasons and barely gets any minutes because he's stuck behind Damien Cook, who's had a good career, to be fair. But again, like you, I'm not going to cry any tears for the Dragons, but if it comes out they are unhappy, good, they should be. This weekend, Terry, the last round of the competition, we were checking all the teams, 1, because that's what we do, and 2, we were checking to see who's resting who. Now, Canberra have obviously earned the right to rest. Ricky Stewart's come out and said I'm going to rest players. They got the minor premiership wrapped up. Whatever, it's none of his concern. 2 teams that aren't resting players, the Canterbury Bulldogs and the Melbourne Storm. And people are coming out and say, why aren't they resting players? The Dogs have been in terrible form, lost so many games across the last couple of weeks, including a game in Melbourne, who, a pretty good opposition. They got past a Penrith team with 3 genuine first graders and some fringe ones. Good reserve grade team, do not get me wrong, but a reserve grade team. Both teams need a win going into finals.
I dare say, looking at the reserves that the Bulldogs have named, that they will know their fate on Thursday night. If the Storm lose by 2 points, they're not going to make up a 100-point differential. And if the Storm win, they can't jump them. That 2nd and 3rd is locked in. It's just the Bulldogs need a miracle. Basically, the Bulldogs need Melbourne to lose again by 30 points, and they need to go and beat Cronulla by 40. Not out of the realms for them. But I dare say that if Melbourne win this game, Toby Sexton's on the bench. Saluka Fafita's on the bench. There's a young back on the bench. There's a back row on the bench. You'll see some players rested. And you might even see some late, this player is sick now, and they might get a late call up with NRL green and permission as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if something like that happened. For Cronulla, the same thing. They will know if Brisbane lose that game, they've got the opportunity to go into fourth. If Brisbane win that game, the next day expect to see Braden Trindle rested and Adam Fanua-Blake rested and, T. Wilton rested and maybe Blake Brayley rested. You never know.
Yeah. I think the Storm have come out and said it's time to get serious.
Yeah.
We've been sitting here since 6 weeks before the preseason saying Melbourne are going to win the comp this year. Well, you're going to make the grand final in your case. They've felt at times like they're going to win the comp. And then other times you're like, yeah, well, when this happens and this happens, they'll run away with the minor premiership. Hasn't happened yet. Now, they get Jerome Hughes back this week, and they're almost at full strength. I think Stefano's been rested, and I wouldn't be shocked if one or two pull up lame in, the night before and drop off. That's why they name big squads, so they can do things like that. We're okay with resting when you're resting the players who need a rest. I would argue that the Dogs can't rest 7 or 8. They can't lose to Cronulla and go into the final series with that run behind them. I would also say that if Melbourne lose with the team they've named to Brisbane, their confidence would be shot because they would have lost 2 in a row. I think I think they did it earlier this year, didn't they? The first time under Bellamy. That'll be the second time, and everyone will be saying, I'm not scared of Melbourne no more. I think both teams need to win and have named sides to say. It shows you, though, the big guns name their big guns, and Penrith have brought them all back except Tyler and Martin and says, cool, I hope you enjoyed your week off. It's time to get serious now. God, I can't wait for finals football.
I cannot wait for finals football.
Speaking of a team that won't play finals football, the Manly Warringah Seagulls. Now, technically, they are a chance. There need to be 40s and 50 nils across the board in their favour. I'm going to say it's not going to happen. If it does, quote me on it. I'll buy us all a chocolate bar. I want to say something positive about Manly. Apologies in advance. Right now, DCE, fantastic player, moved on, caused a bit of a stir on his way out. Luke Brooks, I'm moving on from him next year. Jamal Fogarty is going to be the signing of the year next year. And Joey Walsh, fresh off a month of all-time form in New South Wales Cup, including tearing the Newtown Jets, our beloved Jets, at almost full strength to shreds this past weekend. I think Manly's future is very, very bright, especially when Kohler gets over this knee injury and comes back next year and has a full season. He's going to score 30 tries.
Yeah, I think they're looking pretty good. Taniela Paseka is named as well in to return from his injury for Daly Cherry-Evans' last game. Now, he was quoted this week saying, look, we probably can't make the finals and I wouldn't play, but it's one of my best mates' final games at the club and I have to run out for it. That's pretty cool. I do like the way they're heading. I do think Jamal Fogarty, he's had a great season for Canberra and he's going to be a mental signing for Manly, but they're going to do nothing while Seabold's in charge. And I'll sit and stay at that.
Terry, rugby league, the greatest game of all. Nothing's even close. Nothing second. I don't care. Argue amongst yourselves. The Dolphins. Outside chance of playing finals football, formerly coached by Wayne Bennett, the super coach himself. They, to play finals football this year, need a Wayne Bennett and a Bunny masterclass. You could not have written a better rugby league tale than this.
This is the script of all scripts because, again, the Dolphins will know their fate going into the game on the weekend. And if South Sydney can conjure a miracle, now Latrell Mitchell has been ruled out with the pinched nerve, so he's not going to play. But has Cam Murray been named?
He's in the reserves.
He's in the reserves. So, look, Souths have been in really good form. The Roosters have been in good form, but they had that dip against Parramatta. But Parramatta have showed that's not an anomaly because after that they went across the ditch and beat the Warriors as well. So Parramatta are showing that there is glimpses of a good side there. for South Sydney, obviously, left their run a bit too late, but they found some form, and all of a sudden that Cronulla 14-12 win doesn't look so bad against the Rabbitohs at the moment with the way they've been playing. But geez, I have a look at what the Roosters did to Melbourne in Melbourne, and Sam Walker's coming back, and I just think to myself, whilst the Dolphins are living on a bit of hope, they needed the Roosters to be playing someone else.
I agree. I'm looking forward to this purely because 8 p.m. or 7:50 p.m. Friday night's going to be must-see TV. I also think the Bunnies want nothing more than to get Alex Johnston over the line 3 times.
Oh,
so
yeah.
they can do it
Anyone
again.
who makes a break, they're going to be told, look to your left and look to your right and see where AJ is.
Yeah, it's going to be brilliant. This is going to be so much fun. We've seen the jokes. We said a couple of weeks ago that he gets called back with the bunker overalls. He actually said that. It's pretty much going to happen that fans are going to run out there. Not that we're saying you should, but let's be honest, it's probably going to happen. Well, it's definitely going to happen if I'm being honest. This is just starter. If he has 2 tries at halftime, mate, the ratings will go from 1 million to 1.5 million. And as soon as there gets a sniff, I guarantee you they'll be looking, and it might be one of these, hey, we're over the line here, score tries, and I don't care. He's earned that right.
I don't care how he scores his 3rd try. I just want it to happen. Now, full disclosure, the betting odds of him doing it are $13. So if anyone fancies a cheeky pun out there, do it responsibly. But $13 for Alex Johnston to break the record this week. Otherwise, there's $1.02 to do it next year.
He'll do it next year. But who knows? Maybe they might get flogged 40-0. The Roosters are very, very good. But please, rugby league gods, you owe us.
Yeah, I mean, the Roosters should if the Roosters are beating them 50-0, they should just let AJ cross for 3 tries.
I like it. Just become mates on the football field.
Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Knock On Podcast, brought to you by the good people of Zero Tackle, your one-stop shop for all things rugby league. We're talking contracts, rumours, up-to-date player transfers, wherever anyone's going, stories, 20-1 thoughts, power rankings that don't make any sense. Where's a player going to land? Which coach is going to be sacked next? Dan, what have you got for us this week?
Mate, I'm actually taking
I'll write the story for you. Who's finishing 8th?
Well, who's finishing 8th?
The Roosters.